Hello and welcome to the Rocket English Podcast. This is the place where your English takes off. My name is Alex and I am so happy you are here today. In this episode, we're going to practice your English with a listening story. Stories are one of the most powerful ways to improve your English because you learn vocabulary, rhythm, and natural expressions while following a real-life situation. So today, sit back, relax, and simply listen. And if you enjoy learning English through stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new episode. All right, let's begin. Today's story is called My Busy Morning. It was a cool Monday morning, and my alarm clock rang at exactly 6:30 a.m. The sound was sharp and persistent. Beep, beep, beep. For a moment, I didn't move. I lay there under the warm blanket, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that I could sleep just 5 more minutes. But deep down, I knew that today was going to be a very busy day. Finally, I sighed, reached for my phone, and turned the alarm off. The room was still quiet. Outside the window, the early morning light was just beginning to spread across the sky. I stretched my arms and slowly sat up. You know that feeling when your body is awake, but your mind still feels a little sleepy? That was exactly how I felt. But there was no time to waste. I stood up, walked to the window, and opened the curtains. The city was already waking up. Cars were passing by on the street. People were walking quickly with coffee cups in their hands, and somewhere in the distance, I could hear a bus stopping to pick up passengers. It was the start of a new day, and I had a lot to do. First, I walked to the kitchen. Making coffee is always the first thing I do in the morning. Some people start their day with exercise, others start with meditation, but for me, the day begins with a strong cup of coffee. I filled the kettle with water and turned it on. While the water heated up, I opened the fridge. Inside, I found eggs, some fresh fruit, yogurt, and a small container of orange juice. I decided to make a simple breakfast. 2 eggs, a slice of toast, and a banana. As the smell of coffee slowly filled the kitchen, I began to feel more awake. You know how that smell instantly makes you feel ready for the day? I poured the hot water over the coffee grounds and watched the steam rise into the air. Then I took my first sip. Perfect. Warm, strong, and exactly what I needed. While eating breakfast, I checked my phone. Bad idea. Immediately, I saw 3 emails, 2 messages, and a reminder for a meeting later that morning. My schedule suddenly looked much busier than I expected. I quickly finished my breakfast and stood up. All right, I said to myself, time to get moving. The next step was getting ready. I walked into the bathroom, turned on the shower, and waited for the water to warm up. Showers in the morning are like a reset button. They wake you up and prepare your mind for the day ahead. After a quick shower, I brushed my teeth, looked in the mirror, and tried to decide what to wear. Choosing clothes always seems easy until you are in a hurry. I opened the closet. Shirts, jackets, sweaters. Too formal, too casual, too warm, too cold. Finally, I picked a simple outfit, dark jeans, a light gray shirt, and a comfortable jacket. Practical and simple, exactly what I needed for a busy day. By now, the clock said 7:45 a.m. I suddenly realized something. I had only 15 minutes before I needed to leave, and my bag was still empty. So I rushed back to the kitchen and started gathering everything I needed. Laptop, notebook, charger, headphones, phone, wallet, keys. I checked everything twice. Have you ever left the house and suddenly realized you forgot something important? It happens to everyone. And today, I definitely didn't want that to happen. Finally, I grabbed my bag and walked to the door. Before leaving, I took one last look around the apartment. Lights off, coffee cup in the sink, phone in my pocket. Everything looked ready. I opened the door and stepped outside. The morning air was cool and refreshing. It felt good to breathe in the fresh air after being inside. The street was already alive with activity. People were walking quickly, cars were moving through traffic, and bicycles were passing by. Everyone seemed to be in a hurry, just like me. I began walking toward the bus stop. It was about a 10-minute walk from my apartment. Along the way, I passed a small bakery. The smell of fresh bread and pastries filled the air. For a moment, I almost stopped to buy a croissant. But I checked my watch. No time. Busy morning, remember? So I kept walking. When I finally arrived at the bus stop, several people were already waiting. Some were checking their phones, others were sipping coffee. One person was reading a newspaper. Everyone seemed to be quietly preparing for their day. Then, in the distance, I saw the bus approaching. Perfect timing. The bus stopped, the doors opened, and we all stepped inside. I found a seat near the window and sat down. As the bus began moving through the city streets, I looked outside. The morning sun was now shining brightly. People were walking their dogs. Children were heading to school. Cafes were opening their doors. The city was fully awake now. And suddenly, I felt a strange sense of calm. Yes, the morning had been busy. Yes, there were still many things to do. But in that quiet moment on the bus, everything felt under control. Sometimes mornings are slow and peaceful. Other mornings are fast, chaotic, and full of surprises. But that's life. Every day brings something different. And sometimes, a busy morning can actually make the day more exciting. Because when the day starts with energy and movement, it often leads to new opportunities. Eventually, the bus reached my stop. I stood up, stepped outside, and began walking toward my destination. The day was officially beginning. Meetings, work, conversations, challenges, all waiting just ahead. But I felt ready. Because sometimes, all you need is a cup of coffee, a deep breath, and the courage to start your day. And that was the story of my busy morning. Now I'd love to hear from you. What does your morning routine look like? Do you wake up early, or do you prefer to sleep a little longer? Write your answer in the comments below, and try to write it in English. And if you enjoyed this English listening story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Rocket English podcast. Thank you for listening today. And remember, this is the place where your English takes off.